Gosh, folks, it's been a heavy duty 2.5 years that I've been with you. I didn't know what I was signing up for. My goodness. I thought we were rolling down, into the easy part of it, and here it's perking back up again. We got things hitting us in our peace. Yeah, we've got things trying to take our peace away from us. And I think it's important that we hold on to it in the midst of everything, holding on to the God in our lives, to our beliefs, to our faith, to our imagination for the future, and having the faith to bring that into reality and using into our reality, into the reality of this human experience, and then to have the faith and the strength to apply Unity's fifth principle, to take action. We can pray and meditate. We can know the oneness of God. We can connect within the Christ within each of us, but unless we take some action. And so we must think about that now. We must think about taking action. What action will we take and maintain peace in our hearts and in our mind? So I was, Facebook was a very busy place this week. There was so much going on in the world, and Reverend Karen Robinson put a prayer in the Unity Ministers discussion group this morning that she was holding all ministers in all places in prayer and asking where were we preaching this morning and what we were going to talk about. And it was really interesting what the minister said. Some had said, I threw my talk out, I'm going to focus on this. Some had said, well, my talk fit right into what I was going to talk about. And everybody was thanking Karen for her prayer because it's a hard time to decide what we're going to talk about. And one of the other things I saw on Facebook was a posting that Reverend Therese Donlin Lee posted, and it's a quote from Barbara Brown Taylor. And I wanted to share it with you this morning. And the quote is, Jesus was not killed by atheism and anarchy. He was brought down by law and order allied with religion, which is always a deadly mix. Beware those who claim to know the mind of God and who are prepared to use force, if necessary, to make others conform. Beware those who cannot tell God's will from their own will. And so we need to think about that. And we need to move forward with discernment and with strength as we face some of these issues that are going on in our world today. And I have to say that lots of words came into my mind today, but what really came up for me today is the feeling that if you're not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant straight white male, you got a problem. If you're not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant straight white male, you've got a problem. Certainly, if you're a person of color, you've got a problem, and you know that. And we see people of color not understanding. We see people of color in places of power and justice who exemplify rights that not all of us get to have. And so we wonder what's going on and what effect the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant straight white male has had on people of color to convince them that they have all the rights that they should have. Do any of us have all the rights that we're entitled to? Do all of those that are white Anglo-Saxon Protestant straight white males have all the rights that they think that they have? Or perhaps are they using error thought to move forward, and we need to continue focusing on right thinking, focusing on the fifth principle, focusing on our oneness, our divinity, the Christ in each of us. You know, I was at as some of you heard, a celebration of life service yesterday. And we also had a graveside service. And I don't do a lot of graveside services anymore. And Unity doesn't really have a set graveside service. And at one point, I needed to say a few words, and I let Spirit flow through me. And one of the things I said was that I wanted to advise, or to give the advice to all of those that were there celebrating the life of Norman, that they not create stories about the future. That they not create stories about the future, that they don't start thinking right now and create stories in their mind what the future might be like without the physical presence of this person in their lives. Because it will unfold. And what we have two options of doing is creating stories and focusing on those stories and worrying about those stories and chatting about them and letting them go on in our minds, or we have the ability to use right thinking, to imagine the future, to imagine peace in our future, to imagine love, to imagine equality, to imagine rights for everybody, whether they're white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, straight, white males. I have white in there twice. That tells you how strongly I feel about that. White Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, straight males. We have the ability to imagine, and we have the faith to bring that into this human experience. And so this week we've looked at all kinds of things. We've looked at, again, the taking away of women's rights. I can't say it any other way, of a basic woman's right of what to do with her body. And so, you know, it may not have been the right law, but was the thing to do to take it away? Or was it to leave it there to work on a different law that maybe brought us all together somehow and gave women rights, and also controlled the population of our country in the midst of everything else that's going on? And then I didn't even get to mention last week Juneteenth. And here we are celebrating Juneteenth. And what a joy it is to finally recognize Juneteenth and not have it be this quiet little celebration of a group of people of color, that we're recognizing it, and it's a federal holiday, and that we can see freedom and we can see peace in the mind and in the body and the soul by recognizing that. And then, of course, you can see that I have on my gay pride colors today, and it's LGBTQ Pride Month. And I don't know if you can all see what's behind me or not. Let me put it on speaker view to see. Well, I have David Trolley on there. Hi, David. That didn't work. But I have a picture of me in 1993. Sitting, you probably don't recognize me, sitting on the back of my F-150 on Hayden Lake, Idaho. And it says, as the state's population swells with people, both straight and gay, moving in from more urban and more liberal areas, Idaho is facing an identity crisis. Yes, in 1993, there were anti-gay initiatives all over this country, especially in the Pacific Northwest. And I was there in 93, and Bob McAvoy was president at that time too. And we fought those anti-gay initiatives, and they were beaten. But I have to tell you, we've made a lot of progress in having freedom for LGBTQ rights for some of that group, certainly not for the T population. We're arguing about that every day, and we have no peace in our minds about that. Even for people in that group, can you imagine the lack of peace for trans youth who have to go to the bathroom? Can you imagine the confusion? Can you imagine the lack of peace in their mind? I can't say that I understand what it's like to feel like you have the wrong gender or the wrong identity, the wrong sexual identity. I don't understand that myself, but I certainly honor it. Just as many of you can't understand how I could have homosexual feelings, but you honor it. And so we have LGBTQ Pride Month, and I'm having trouble maintaining peace in my mind because they've come after us before and they will come after us again. If you see me walking around, forgive me for saying this, with a pink triangle on my right shoulder instead of the stars I have tattooed on there, something's happened. They did that before too. And now we've been sitting through the January 6th hearings. Isn't that fun? And I've watched some of it, but it's the reality, and it's enough to take peace away from your mind. But we can always find peace in the fact that truth is coming out. We can find peace in the fact that people in our government are caring enough about democracy to have these hearings and to do an excellent job of putting the information out there to the public. And so we watch those and we bring peace into our minds when we can. And there's a COVID surge. Yay! There's a COVID surge, another one. How many is this? I can't count them. Well, I'm over it. Well, I'm not sure that I'm over it, but I had my COVID and I was put on Paxlovid and I stopped taking it because it made me sick. It was worse than the COVID, but I'm coming around and I feel better. And so keep peace in your mind. COVID is here. It's endemic. It's not a pandemic. Well, it's pandemic, but it's endemic. It's within our world. It's within the human experience. It's a part of it. Just like the flu, just like polio, just like tuberculosis. And so we have the strength and the peace to deal with it and move through it. What time is it? Good. I didn't talk too much. So I did talk a bit. Oh, I thank you for listening to that. And let me move forward. Let's just take a moment and stop and hold all of that in love, in prayer, in peace, and know that we are one with God, that in the midst of all of this, in the midst of everything that's going on, God is present, God is here, that we have beliefs that we can call on and faith that we can be a part of and utilize. And so we breathe into all of this. We breathe into it and we exhale and say thank you. Amen. Alex Elle is an author. She's a certified breathwork coach and a restorative writing teacher, and she lives in Maryland with her family. And writing came into her life by way of therapy. Guess. Isn't that the way writing comes into a lot of our lives, by way of therapy, by way of working things out, by getting a new perspective? And the exploration of healing, she says, through journaling and mindfulness. And the intention behind her work is to build community and self-care practices through literature and languages. And I want to share with you just a couple of her quotes, 3 of them, before I go through things that she needed to get rid of to find peace in her mind. And I'm going to go through them pretty quickly because we all know them, and I just want to bring them to your attention. But the first quote I want to share is that Alex says this: peace is not always easy to grasp or keep close. In the process of attaining and protecting it, you may find yourself tired, weary, and uncertain on how to keep your peace safe. While being uncertain is normal, continue to commit yourself to peacefulness. You are worthy of every drop of sweetness and ease that you encounter. Being tested is a part of the journey. Giving up and letting go is not. Exactly what Julie Curry was talking about in her story about her prayer this morning. Giving up and letting go is not. The sun will rise and set regardless. The sun will rise and set regardless. What we choose to do with the light while it's here is up to us. Journey wisely. It's going to come up and it's go down, folks. We can go forward with peace. Peace be still, peace in our minds, peace in our hearts. Or we can do something else. So let's journey wisely. Let's journey wisely together. And lastly, her quote is, we can't be so desperate for love that we forget where we can always find it within. Within. I can always find it within. You can too. Whenever you're feeling unpeaceful, whenever the calm whenever you can't find the calm, go within. Find love. Love is the divine harmonizer, and you will find peace. All right, you ready? Write these down if you want to. Here are some things you need to give up to find peace in your life. Things that you need to stop doing to find peace in your life. Number one, arguing with people. Thank you. I see David Fleming, forgive me, David, laughed. Really? I mean, don't we know? Arguing with people. Sometimes we call people up just to argue with them. That brings a lot of peace in our life. Number two, oh, here is such a good one. Wasting energy on one-sided relationships. Wasting energy on one-sided relationships because we've got a story in our mind that we can make that one-sided relationship two-sided. But that story isn't there. And so we spend all this time and then we are unpeaceful because of it. It's not going to change. I mean, it's okay that it's one-sided. Just move on. Number three, oh, here we go. Does anybody do this? Overcommitting my time when I didn't have the energy. Overcommitting my time when I didn't have the energy. Well, I think we'll just imbibe that one and take it in if it fits. Number four, accepting and excusing toxic behavior because that was more comfortable than change. Let me say it again. This is great. Accepting and excusing toxic behavior because that was more comfortable than change. It was going to be harder to not call on that toxic behavior, to get out of it, to say, I don't want to be there, than to end the argument. It was easier to stay there because we're used to it than it was going to be to say, I don't want a part of this anymore. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to go to that event because I know it's toxic. And so let's not be a part of the toxic behavior. Let's be uncomfortable and change and find that peace, find peace in our discomfort. All right, next one. Allowing dysfunctional family members to steal my joy. Allowing dysfunctional family members to steal my joy. I don't have anything more I need to say about that. Is there anybody on here that's never done that? If you haven't, we'll write a book together. Well, I won't because I do it. Next. Oh, well, discarding my boundaries to fit uncomfortably in other people's lives. Yep, discarding my boundaries. Even though it's not all right with me, I'm going to say it's all right so I fit. And I'm not being my true authentic self. And so why is the relationship having problems? Have you ever pretended to be happy when you were hurting? Oh, can we let go of that? Can we stop pretending to be happy when we're hurting? It's okay to hurt. It's okay to grieve. It's a part of our human experience. You don't need to pretend. All right, here we go. Next, silencing my voice and not naming my needs. Yesterday, we were talking about the ice cream social, and there was an option of getting big gallons of ice cream and small little 1-cup containers. And we were talking about the 1-cup containers. And I felt John Duffy come into my mind and say, no 1-cup containers. And I felt that way too. So I voiced my need and said, no, I want to scoop the ice cream out of the gallons. And so we are. So I was happy that I voiced my need rather than to conform. And John was happy too. Next, here we go. Overthinking my past and things I cannot change. Overthinking my past and things I cannot change. Oh, I wish I hadn't have done that. If I only hadn't have done it. Oh my goodness. Oh, and I spent all day thinking about that yesterday too. If I just hadn't have done it, I wouldn't be in the shape I'm in today, but I'm still there. So I'll think about it today too. Now, has anybody ever held on to people you've outgrown because of the time invested? That's a big one. Yeah. Holding on to people you've outgrown because of the time invested. It's hard to let go when you've invested time. You see, it goes back to our stories again, I think. What do we think will make this, what we're holding on to, what we really want to hold on to? Or is that what we're doing, trying to make it something that it's not? Something we want it to be? And what about going along to get along? Have you ever gone along to get along? Yeah. Yep, we do that a lot. I see some hands going up. It's not very peaceful, is it? Not in our minds. Why did I do that? Why didn't I stand up for myself? Why didn't I say what I thought? Everybody else said what they thought. Going along to get along. Oh, this is a good one. Hold on, here we go. We're almost done. Overlooking my blessings and comparing my life to someone else's. Oh boy, they've got so much more money than I do. When they take a trip, they stay at this resort and we stay over here. My life would be better if I had more money. We compare. And we'd find more peace if we just left ourselves exactly as we were. Last but not least, have you ever done this, and has it ever caused you an unpeaceful mind? Trying to change people who were committed to staying the same. Trying to change people who were committed to staying the same. We spend a lot of our lives doing that. We even, sometimes as chaplains, people come up and ask us to pray for that. and we don't. Usually we open ourselves up and we ask them to open up to divine order, to what they create in their own life. And so it's about, it all goes back to those rights that we're feeling that we're losing, some of us, okay? And we have a right to our beliefs, and we have a right to our freedoms, and everybody else does too. And so the best way for us to go through this current time is to let go of those things that are not allowing us to hold peace in our mind. Take a deep breath this week. Go forward. Be with peace in your mind.